So we are so glad that we have Sue here with us for our January AI for HR community workshop. This has been a topic that has come up so many times inside our community about the employee experience, the full journey. And Sue is going to share with us some work that Sue has done with AI. And really what I think is really powerful in this is how Sue is approaching this, is looking at employee experience as a product. And that is something that we hear in our HR space all the time, more so than ever now. And we'll spend the next hour with Sue walking us through her workshop. And just so everyone knows, there will be a very brief survey at the end of the workshop, because it's really important to us as a community that we are listening to what the value is that our members are getting from our workshops and for our other content, and that we're constantly evolving and innovating. So please, if you don't stay till the end, you will see a link to the feedback survey in our community chat later. But it is important that you give us that feedback. And please, Sue is excited to engage with you all. So you can put your questions or your comments in the chat. Vanessa and I will help moderate that. And Sue, thank you for doing all the work that you've done to put this together. I know it's been a lot, and I know that you're excited about it. And we are excited, and we are here to learn with and from you. And without any further ado, you can take the floor now. If you want to give a brief intro about yourself, that would be great. Thank you.
No, same here. I'm excited to be with all of you. And I would say that off the bat, the employee experience journey, employee experience, although it's been out there for a bit, and some HR teams actually changed their names to it. I think very few organizations have been able to build their employee experience journey. And even on top of that, with AI embedded end to end, very few, right? So it's more, from my experience, it's been more about particular areas or focus areas. It hasn't been a full end to end, but the organizations that have been able to do the end to end are very few and more technology driven, right? So just wanted to point that out. So a little bit about, so let me share my slide. And I actually was trying to create a Hey Jen. Let's see if it actually loaded. It gave a little intro of me. No, it's 60%, maybe at the end. You guys can see. But let me share my screen here. And really, this is just to aid the conversation. I want you all to be able to feel comfortable asking questions as people involved. All right. And do you see my screen? Okay, perfect. I see. Ever since I got introduced to Gamma, I'm obsessed. And so all my slides are in Gamma. Please, it's definitely a good investment. My husband told me earlier today, he was like, are you like a spokesperson for Gamma? Like, what is going on here? You're always talking about it. I'm like, yeah, if you need some slides on the fly, let me know. Granted, these were not on the fly because there was so much content. I was just like, oh, like how can I squeeze all this information in a way that makes sense into the least amount of slides. So bear with me, and we'll work through this journey. So a little bit about me. Here's where I was trying to get the video, but who knows, maybe at the end. So I consider myself an HR architect, right? So I've been kind of on the cross areas between being a strategic HR business partner and implementing systems, and also with shared services teams. So think about HR technology implementations at scale, large organizations like PepsiCo, Philip Morris International, Accenture, and also nonprofits, hospital networks, and startups. And also think about employee relations, being a business partner, partnering with the business, creating employee value propositions, surveys, all that end-to-end full cycle support for leaders in HR and employees. I've done it kind of all. I would say I'm sorry, close the box. What is, what do you
So
see?
we're seeing the screen of us and your slides. So okay,
Oh, okay.
now we're seeing us.
All right,
So share my screen. Do you have one or multiple screens?
I have one.
Okay, it's always a challenge when there's one.
Does
So
that work?
try sharing again. There's not a screen that we're seeing yet.
Let's see. No, earlier it was letting me share the actual
I think if you just do
window.
share screen as you did before, and then hit the little X box instead of the other one, it should. Sorry, it was just really distracting.
There we go. Okay. So let me see. You're saying
Yeah.
The one,
what?
yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right, let's see if
Oh,
So now share my screen anyway, and then we can try and close that. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Perfect.
okay, you see it? Okay, perfect. Not sure where I left off. The only thing is that I can't see anything now. I can't see any text or anything that comes through. So that's my experience. Sorry, I left off at being a strategic business partner. And then, so my mission is ensuring that we incorporate the people aspects of AI. The people aspects within AI frameworks, right? So making sure that we're thinking about people as we build new technology and AI frameworks. I'm looking to work now, whereas I was working with larger organizations, looking to work more with small, medium, and mission-driven organizations, because that's where I feel like the biggest impact is. Because those larger organizations usually have significant budget to implement these large-scale technologies, right? Again, human-centered. So personal, Bronx-born, Latina, first generation college student, mom of 2 boys, 10 and 3, New York, and passionate about AI, music, dancing, food. So come to New York, and you can join me for dinner. Definitely a lot of great options. So a little bit about the agenda today. Stacy mentioned it, definitely reframing AI employee experience as a product. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and how we can shift our mindset a little bit. And this took me some time, right? Because you hear it, it sort of makes sense, but until you actually start to kind of put the pieces together, it doesn't quite fully make sense, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can use a framework to apply, how to get into creating that journey for your organization, and what are some of those 4 steps. We're going to be talking about some real use cases and lessons learned. We're going to talk about some tools that you could use to enhance your journey. We're going to do a little bit of a demo of Mural, and then I would like to hear from you. What I'll do is that after each section, I will have a conversation. I would ask to see if there's any questions, and making sure that you all kind of it all makes sense and it's driving. And also I am planning to give a little bit of a one pager, so that you can use that as a resource. So don't worry about like printing, like making copies of the slides. I'll give you kind of a one pager with some of the key things that we learned today. So going into the nitty gritty here of employee experience. So it's really, so traditional HR has thought more process specific, where it's focused primarily on like total rewards, benefits, recruiting. So from the HR lens and the needs of the HR function, it's been primarily compliance focused, and it's been about one size fits all, right? Treating everybody equally, and just kind of everybody kind of gets the same thing, right? So when you shift from a traditional view of HR to product mindset, think about, when a phone is created, or when, even the platforms that you currently use now, they, to build the product, they think about users in terms of personas, right? So let's say if we were to think about the employee group. So one persona could be HR, of course, but another persona could be a manager in a facility that supports, that has a team of 10 supervisors that report to him, and and those supervisors have other people, right? So each user has a different persona, and then each user has a different journey, right? That's one piece. Other piece is that it's the customer here from an employee experience perspective is the employee, right? So think of, you're in HR, the reality is that our customers are our employee, whether they're managers, individual contributors, it doesn't matter, they are our employee. So that's another piece too. And then looking at it more of okay, when somebody walks in the door, this is their experience, or when somebody interacts with our recruiting system, this is how they feel, or when somebody transitions from one position to another, this is what they're experiencing, or when someone is going on maternity leave, this is what they're experiencing, this is what they feel. And the idea of that is capturing that as a data point to then drive where we invest our time and focus from an HR perspective, right? So it really is transitioning from where we are, where it's more, I feel like some of it is based on intuitive, or what we feel, what HR thinks it feels, towards more data driven, really. So it's getting us where we need to be, right? Like we talk a lot about data driven decisions, but where's the data? So it's about capturing those data points, not only on the process side, but on the how did the employee experience this particular event, right? Another thing is that it's a little bit more scientific than just like, hey, I think we need a tool here. It's about, hey, we received this feedback from employees, and let's think about what the needs are, create a concept, design a minimal product, go through communications, launch it, test it out, but test it out in smaller groups, launch it. If it works, give it 90 days. If it works, great, let's expand it to other teams. If it doesn't, let's kill it, right? And if it needs some adjustments, let's adjust it and then either relaunch it or expand it or whatever we think makes sense. But it does change the way we see things. So it just fundamentally changes the way we work, right? As an HR profession. Any questions here? So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment.
It might, let me see if anyone has questions. I don't see any questions yet in the chat, and I have one. So I'm going to ask mine.
Mm-hmm.
And Sue, I apologize if this question is coming in your workshop, so you can just
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Oh.
I put myself in that position, right? So that maybe you might ask me something.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I love this topic and everything so much, and my mind just goes all over. And when you're saying about the product, and then you're going and you're launching for 90 days, I love that. So going back just one step to how the employees experience the events. That to me sounds like the data gold. Is that the employee experience trajectory, the design that we have to get the data on? Like how do you determine which events happen? Because there are so many, right? There is going on maternity leave, there's a new hire, there's a lateral move, like there's so many events.
I mean, you have to obviously start with one event, right?
Okay.
And pilot that event, that particular event, and then how you're going to deal with it moving forward. It depends on your resources, right? Like you could do one event, or you could focus on the hiring, the hiring piece, right? Like that, or the onboarding piece as within its entirety. The challenge sometimes when you look at it within its entirety instead of just like activities is that sometimes you get boggled down by all the pieces, right? And so that becomes super complex. Sometimes just like, hey, this is wrong, like this is not working. This is a negative experience. We've experienced negative feedback. Let's create a concept, pilot it. So it's more like responsive.
I love that.
Right?
It sounds almost like it's okay to be reactive, because we all say in HR we want to be proactive and not reactive. But we know that we all fall to being reactive just because of the nature of our work and the change management that has to happen and can't happen alone with just HR. So it sounds to me like maybe it's okay to accept that we're being reactive, but we're going to innovate and take the product thinking in a situation that we'd be reactive, but previously focus on process, now focus on product. So, because otherwise, like there's so much to cover.
I mean, I would say if you find a place, right, where you are hearing a lot of noise, right? Everybody's saying it's a pain point. All right, decide, okay, well, where's the most noise? Okay, it's in the finance department. Okay, let's do a quick survey. Let's just validate that what's going on here, right? Then once you validate, then based off of that data, then you can create a proof of concept for something that you do.
Got it.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes. You're raising your hand.
Oh, yeah. So I had two comments. One was, when Stacey, when you say we are being reactive in a traditional way, and it does feel that it is reactive. However, when we are taking this action, it is proactive, I think.
Sure.
We are kind of trying to avoid what may come, maybe a bigger storm comes later on. So we are, in a way, being proactive, and like it's stemming from being reactive, but it is proactive action, one. And secondly, how Sue said, I was on the same track as well. When you said which area to deal with, there are so many of them. exactly what Sue said, where there is bigger noise, where do you see a lot of disruption? What do you see occurring the most in the past few months, a year, or a couple of years? And start with that.
I wonder, and this is like kind of where my head has gone, is there value in having this larger map of these events, right? Say we have obviously all the tools at our fingertips, ChatGPT, we can have 100 different events. And then having kind of like looking at it as like building a system where we have these lists of events and we're just kind of crossing them off as they come up, starting with, to your point, Sue, like where the most noise is and moving in that direction so that we are looking at it as a product that connects to the larger product of this employee experiential system.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'll show is how you can map out the entire experience in Mural, right? Like you can map it out in great detail, right? But obviously that gets incredibly overwhelming to look at. So you're going to have to choose, hey, these are some, based on your resources, these are some of the ones that we want to prioritize based on XYZ. And as a team, you could create whatever criteria, right? You could create it based off of cost, right? That could be a criteria to be like, okay, these are the ones that are most costly and not solved for. But before you get into solving, you do need to make sure that whatever you're solving for is the right thing. So that going back into tapping into that group that you're going to do it for and getting some feedback is going to be critical so that you're not like creating something that ultimately is not going to solve or close out that noise, right? It's based off assumptions, right?
Thank you.
I have another point.
One more, and then I'm going to go into like how we can move forward from. I just want to make sure conceptually that shift makes sense, and that's why I pause, right? Because it's such a big shift of how we look at HR, right? We're always looking at it as total rewards, like we're always looking at from that perspective, versus this shifts it. Sorry, Lovell. One more comment, and then I'm gonna go back to sharing.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say one last comment. I would also say when we are seeing 100 different things occurring and not being able to focus on which one should we deal with first or which one should we take and start piloting that, I always also want to involve the leadership, like the ops or whatever, and that gets two things solved, right? One, you have their buy-in because you're involving them at a very early stage. And secondly, there are things which HR sometimes misses out because we are not in the front lines. So they, as ops, whether it's finance or whoever, would have a better idea and a consensus on, yes, this shows up at most. These are the things that are occurring most, and maybe this is a good way to start piloting on this.
And you remind me, thank you of a good point, is making employees co-creators of the process,
and leadership and
of whatever you're changing, right? Let me stop talking
right,
because I love process too, but it's making that like, okay, so let's say from this survey you get the feedback, going back to them and saying, hey, we heard this, we have this, we need to, what would you like us to prioritize, right? And hey, we need some people to help us create it. Are you interested? Right? That also creates engagement and faster adoption from the employee population because they were like, hey, I was part of putting this together and I gave feedback, right? And look, I know it's easier said than done because we're all busy, but shifting to this versus where we are now is what's going to position ourselves to be more valuable as a function, and not only as a function, but also to employees, right? So that's something to consider as you make the shift. So going back, getting risky here with the back and forth.
Are your slides Are you sharing them again? Because I just want, they're not being shared right now. Okay, great.
All right, so let's close here. Go back here.
And just for the sake of time, Sue, and I'm guilty of this, so I apologize. If it is 12:30, so maybe you get through as much as you want to, and then we open it up for questions slash discussion.
Yeah, no, for sure. This, I think, speaks for itself, and I'm preaching to the choir. There is a business case behind why making this shift is so important. And it does increase profitability.
You're not
It
sharing.
does. Oh,
Just hit the share my screen anyway.
oh, interesting. It says I'm sharing.
Oh,
Let me stop.
try
How about now?
There you go. Great.
Perfect. Okay. This just shows some percentages. But as I said, you know, there is a business case behind it. So let's talk a little bit about how, right? How do we do this? Definitely defining the journey, right? And what are those important times? And you could either, and there's many ways to do it. You could do the whole thing and then identify. You could do it by phases in the process, by either attract or hire or onboard, like say, hey, we're going to focus on this particular phase within the journey. Or you can say, hey, let's map everything out and then decide which one we're going to focus on or start chronologically. Then it's identifying those key moments that matter. Then mapping out some of those emotions associated to those moments, right? And then the last one is really trying to figure out, okay, what AI tools can be used to either personalize this particular experience, capture data so that we can eventually predict behavior, automate, or use all that information to create real insights, right? And so that will help you decide whether this particular area needs more investment, or if maybe that pilot that you did didn't quite work. But you have to choose, right? Test it and then learn, right? But it's an iterative process, right? Where you do it again and again as you go through your journey as an HR team, right? Some real world examples of where this stuff really works from an employee experience perspective. So, and as I said earlier, larger organizations have been able to do this more because of the money, right, that it takes, and investment that it takes. It is an investment that I think it helps pay out in the long run. But these are some, and again, technology based always runs this stuff. So like the Googles of the world have piloted quite a bit of employee experience journeys throughout their organization, as well as IBM, Unilever, PepsiCo as well, and I can share some of that experience as well. Another piece is that employee experience covers not only these phases, but also the experience physically, right? Physically and remotely, right, for the employees. So for those organizations that have a physical space where people go to, what is the look and feel? How are people using those spaces? Are they, how do people feel in those spaces, right? And that's also, there's also study around that that I've learned about, if anybody's interested specifically on the space piece. But that also has been, it also is part of the employee experience. So IBM used, so in order to predict attrition, what they did is that they used AI to capture. So they used AI within their data. And what they did is that they were looking at movement, promotions, when people leave, pay increases, how long somebody's been in the organization. And they started to use this data. And what they did was that they created some flags, right? So, hey, if someone has this score in their performance, is been in the organization for this long, and has their manager has this engagement score, this is the flag, right? And like put it in a report, and then let's look at it. So by creating those triggered reports, right, you can see, oh, okay, there's a pattern here, right? Around why people move in this space and this space. So they use that data to actually reduce attrition by 25%. Unilever created a personalized onboarding program, right? And so they created this chat box called Una, and it was generative AI, right? And so they used it so the employee can ask questions, can schedule, create tasks. And what happened is that the employee needed to go less to the manager on some of those basic operational questions, right? So it reduced the work the manager had to do logistically by 40%. And those onboarding tasks that help employees really onboard and start to become productive quicker, it increased, right? For them to complete those tasks to 90%. And before it was 64%. And we all know, right, whoever has onboarding tasks and checklists for employees, that for the most part, they don't always complete it. And you may or may not have a tracking system around that. But that completing those tasks is going to help them onboard faster, right? And so those two are use cases related to the experience, right? One, onboarding. The other one is a little bit different because it was more about capturing the data, creating some guardrails or parameters to capture the right data in order to be able to act on it, right? But it's about having more focused efforts, right? And data-driven efforts rather than intuitive programming, right? Here are some tools and some specific use cases around why you would use that tool, right? So to capture some data on employee sentiment and where people are at, there are some tools here, like Culture and Qualtrics, to do career growth and internal mobility. We have Glow. Glow is used at PepsiCo, and what can be done with Glow is you can adapt it to your recruiting tool. So people can see open roles. You can adapt it to your learning management or learning experience platform. So people can see learning and training that they can take. You can adapt it to for people to see who are the people within the organization, so to your Active Directory. And what people can do within Glow is see, hey, I am interested in going and getting this job. Who can I contact that has that job that can help me figure out what I need? That's one. What projects can I be a part of that will help me get into that role for the future? Or what skill sets do I need? Or, hey, these are some jobs that maybe it's not the next job, but it's the precursor of that job that I want for the future, right? So it helps you map out your career journey in a really nice way, so that way you can have that experience. Obviously, from it could also serve as a marketplace to do like the project piece, right? So, and that exposure. So one of the things at PepsiCo is, okay, we want you to have cross-functional experience, we want you to have global experience, and we want you to, for more senior leadership roles. Well, those projects help you get that experience so that you're able to be qualified for that next role or that leadership role that you're looking to. There's an example of HR service delivery with Leah and ServiceNow, and performance management as well. So we have some potential tools that you can use. I would say for AI at this moment in time, the tools are fairly affordable, right? Not like the SAP success factors, work days, right? For smaller organizations, embedding these tools within their the HR journey is still affordable, right? So I think that that's a helpful point there as well. So are we still connected and you guys are listening to me? It's hard because I can't see anybody.
Yes. And we have a nice amount of time for the demo.
Okay, great. So Mural, just quickly, it's not anything you need to install. You can collaborate with people real time. You can take it with you. I'm gonna do more of a free demo here, because I haven't decided whether Mural is the tool that I want to use, but there's so many tools similar to this. When I found this, I was like, OMG, this is awesome. So Mural has, not only can you like just create this from scratch, but there's all these templates, right, that you can use off the bat. So if you don't want to like create this workflow and, create this mapping by yourself, all you have to do here is type input experience. I'm sorry, this is not the template or what.
While Sue grabs that, I dropped the link to Miro in the chat.
Thank you.
So if you can see, I mean, there's just like so many options in terms of which one you can use, right? Not only is there employee experience, but there's product development, and how do you do that? So you can get a sense of, okay, Sue said something about looking at people as a product, customer experience as well, which is kind of where this people experience comes from, right? Like you really could technically use a customer experience mapping journey and as a kind of a starting point, and then obviously make it HR specific. But let's see which one. All right, let's choose this one. And the cool thing about Mural, right, is that it has this sidekick thing that in essence, it could create the workflow for you. You can say, hey, I want the users to be, let's say you want to start to create the user personas. It says, you can type it, right, and request it the same way that you would request it for AI. I'm not going to do that because this is the free version and I only have a certain amount of activities that I can do. And I think, hold on, I think there's a way before we get into this. And I'm not going to do one step by step, but I wanted to show you that I can also invite all of you to this. Just bear with me. I don't recall where I do the invite.
I think it's the share to the top right. To the right. Yeah, there you go.
In the blue, yeah.
Oh, hello. Oh my God. All right, I'm gonna copy the link. And let me go to seconds. I can put it here. Let me see. Some of you can access that.
Cool.
Just go back to Mural. But in essence, you can have your team collaborate here and type in whatever they think. And then you could even have Mural help you summarize it through their AI tool, right? So you can highlight it. Let's say a whole bunch of people decided to type here, and you want to kind of summarize each of the buckets once that's done. You can do it. You can present, like this automatically created a presentation, right? So once this is, you're done with this exercise, and this is something you can do it live with your team, or you can just say, hey, everybody add their comments by this day, right? And then let's come together and validate. So you could do it live, or if you have a remote team that they have different time zones, you can do it there. And then once that's done, then present it together and then validate what we're looking for, or even go to the next step and share it with your whoever stakeholders you need to. So pretty cool tool.
This is really
I mean, I could go deeper, but let me see what's next here. Okay, there is just one or two more slides, and you could share it as a PDF as well to whoever you need as stakeholders as well. So not only can you collaborate it with it real time, you can do it remotely, different time zones, whatever. You can create slides. And then you can also create a PDF that you can share once it's done. And as you can see, I was able to play around with it in the free version. And there are other workflows as well in Mural that you can use. Look, although I don't want, policy and procedures to be, like front and center. I would say they are fundamental to make sure that one, we're in compliance, right? And two, that we are being ethical with our practices and responsible, and we are keeping in mind that we're fair and equitable, right, across the board with everything that we're doing. So having guidelines, I think, when it comes to using AI is super critical, because AI makes things up, right? And it's only as good as the people that are using it and validating and stuff like that. So I want to put some guardrails around it and say that when you start to embed these AI tools within your employee journey, they shouldn't be making decisions, right? They should be flagging things, right? Like saying, okay, generate a report or flag in this way, or send me an email, whatever mechanism you want when there's an issue. But to make a decision to terminate someone or to put them on disciplinary action, those things should never be automated, right? So that's an important piece, that because what AI doesn't have is context, right? Hey, maybe the reason why this particular one got flagged was because somebody entered something wrong, right? Like the data itself was incorrect, or it could be that this person was on a leave, or there's some extenuating circumstances as to why this combination of factors, or maybe even like there could always be some background as to why, right? So that context is important, and AI will potentially miss it. Start small, learn fast, and then scale what works. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And there's some examples as to how that happened. Transparency builds trust. Definitely ensure that whatever you're building isn't like super complicated where you can't explain it to the employee, right? Because the employee is going to be like, well, I don't understand what you're doing, right? So it needs to be, and then they need to have options to opt out if they feel that it's something that might impact them, and let them know that it's something that you're working toward, you're working on, right? And it's something that may have flaws, but that it's not going to negatively impact them, right? And so it's important to build that trust with the employee as you continue to launch these activities, right? AI-enabled activities. So I think we could talk, but I wanted you guys to leave with like one action, right? This week where you're thinking about your employee journey. How can you best support your employees by considering them a customer, right? And as you start to gather feedback on this particular moment within the employee journey, see what you originally thought it would be the solution. See if that is still the case once you have those conversations with employees or gather your feedback. Because I think a lot of what we've done in the past as HR leaders is make an assumption that our solution is going to solve the problem without even knowing if that is the problem to solve. So I'll stop sharing here, and then we can chat.
Thank you, Sue. This was
great.
Yeah, so great. Just so eye-opening and makes me want to go build something. Do we have any
That's
questions?
another thing too, right? Like I think this is the time for HR leaders to be builders.
Yeah.
This is a creative time within HR. And I think rather than looking at it as, oh my God, HR, I'm sorry, I keep on mixing AI and HR. AI is such a scary thing, right? Looking at it as, oh, wow, now AI can accelerate my building process.
Absolutely.
Right? So much faster. Now I actually can make decisions using data.
I read a very simple and poignant quote, and it was from an HR leader. I forgot what the person's name was, but it doesn't actually matter. They said, it's not that AI is going to take over people's jobs. It's that someone who works with AI will take over people's jobs.
Since this is
yes and no, it will take over some jobs.
Yeah, I was just going to say, since this is a safe environment.
Let's be real.
Well, yes, I think you take it with a grain of salt. We know that some of it will, but not. There also will be a lot of new jobs created.
Exactly.
So I think
you want those,
right? The jobs that will be, of course, there'll be jobs like my job was taken last year because of the opportunities somewhere else for it. So I understand that, but there's also new jobs and new skills that are needed. So I think it's both sides of the same coin. And this does actually go back to looking at even like employee experience and learning as a product, right?
Mhm.
So with that, do we have any questions or comments related to Sue's workshop that I am not going to be able to stop thinking about? And I'm dropping
Well,
the survey
absolutely.
in while everyone is still here, except Michelle.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to comment too. Thank you so much. This was a lot of these things I had in my mind as well, and I was wanting to create a workshop just for the HR people, for the HR community, not necessarily who are in this community, but in person, like in Toronto, whatever, and not charge anything or whatever, but just to help the community start thinking on this, right? We are always lagging behind. And another comment I have is why this is so important for our community to take it heads on and move forward with it, be proactive, like how Stacy said, because this will determine also how within HR we are changing with the change, how we are dealing with the change and managing that change to be able to support the rest of the organization with the change management. There is, like how you said at the beginning, so there is such a big mind shift. And not only for HR, but for other departments as well. The other sides of the business also needs to have this change in mind shift. And we can support that, but feel it ourselves and see within ourselves how we are, as a department, managing this change and then support the rest of the organization.
Has anyone in this group had any recent projects where they have taken employee experience or a part of the journey and treated it as a product, or used AI to accelerate performance management, like with recent reviews in December or anything like that? Benefits, open enrollment?
For
I've
me,
used
not
it for
it'd be
benefits, open enrollment, but not the treating it as a product, right? That's a interesting concept.
my first experience with employee experience, but I didn't even know it was employee experience, was implementing a learner experience platform for PepsiCo called Degreed. I'm not sure if you've heard of Degreed. But it's similar to edX.
Oh, I know.
I mean, Coursera, sort of. But in essence, what that platform does, and it's a form of AI, not the AI that we're looking at now that is generative, but it's called machine learning. That learns based on the training that you click on, or the pathways that you're interested or follow, the learning pathways, because it creates learning pathways. It starts to recommend learning for you.
Very cool. Yeah.
Right. Whether if it's, and it'll look at your behavior. Hey, she likes micro learning, so let's recommend these. She typically searches for these topics. Let's recommend these. And so during the implementation, we worked with Deloitte, and we had to create those personas, and that was something that I had never done before, right? And then we had to look, okay, what is the journey for each of those personas? And it was quite an interesting process, but I didn't know that was part of employee experience.
Right.
And so it's interesting. I reheard employee experience earlier last year, and when I looked at that with all that I was learning in AI, I was like, mind blown. This is huge. This is the future.
It is. It's so
HR.
Yeah.
It really is the future of HR. Any other questions, comments? I tried to put enough content, but I mean, like I can double click. Like if we wanted to do a workshop, double clicking on any of the areas that I touched, but I wanted to make it enough so you had everything. I will share that one pager that I think would be helpful. But I don't know. Any other questions or comments?
I do. So when you were talking about creating personas or creating the experience on how each individual would learn, and somebody is probably better at micro learning, those kind of things, when you were talking about, did you do an employee survey and see where is the most interest, or how maximum
Well,
people are?
when you were talking about whether the micro learning versus not, that was based off of what the tool does itself, right? So the tool itself does machine learning and it makes a decision based on the employee's behavior, right? So I wanted to clarify that, right? Like the AI takes the person's behavior and what they select. As for the persona, it was about, okay, what is going to matter for this person, right? And how they're going to be interacting with the technology, right? So if someone who's a frontline worker, right, is going to be interacting with it this way, and yeah, maybe they do need more micro learning because they're not going to be there for 2 hours sitting, taking an e-learning course, right? So yes, mapping out what their experience is going to be helped for, okay, how we're going to be using this tool. And does it satisfy our needs, right, as an organization, right?
Love it. Thank you so much, Sue.
Thank you.
And please, everyone, like, keep this conversation going inside the community. We will be in the community chat. We'll be sharing the survey feedback form, and in a couple of days, between like 2 and 4 days, we will be sharing the replay, so you can go back. We'll be sharing it on social as well. And when you go back, of course, it may generate additional thoughts or questions, and that's really where this we're building it, right? Because Sue provided us with the insight that she has and says, okay, this is that I want to show you. Now we know, okay, Miro can do all this. What can we as a collective do together with the mapping and all that stuff to move it forward? And that's really where our community shines. So, Vanessa, anything that I didn't say that you want to say before we wrap?
Sue, amazing. Thank you. And that's what I love, that our members bring different perspectives, right? Because HR, there's so many different facets of HR. I like the systems, tools, and operations, right? Not so much benefits and compensation, but sometimes that's a part that I need to dive into. But if there's an expert in that area that can show us how they're using AI, that's amazing. The employee experience in this journey and productizing HR, that's something that I've kind of heard a buzz about, but never, to this detail. So thank you so much, Sue.